Hey folks, I'm back at Clay Hill. This is the third time for us at Clay Hill. I'm after that win here, y'all. I'm running late, y'all. Check it out. Look here at this. I was on the way to the track and I broke an axle. Unloaded the car on the side of the highway, took a hammer, beat a hole in the floor, took a jack, put it under the axle, put a ratchet strap on it. Improvise and overcome, right, y'all? I don't know if it'll make it home, but it made it to the track anyway. Anyway, we're both here, me and Rachel. Finished up the adjustments on my car today. I've got some video of that. So before we even talk about racing, here's some setup stuff, and you can see what I did to the car to try to dial it in for this third race tonight. And then we'll see if it actually helps. So check this out. Well, the last time we ran the car at this track, we had just a little bit of push on the nose as I was trying to pick the throttle up right on corner entry. Couldn't get on the gas hard enough, fast enough. That's what I was trying to do. But it wasn't working. So, first thing I want to do is I want to look and see exactly where I'm at right now. Like, this is how we ran the car. So, let me look at these numbers right quick for y'all. I really liked how the car acted virtually from the entry all the way through the turn. I really liked how the car acted, but there was just this little bit of delay getting the car to turn in that was hurting me. And like looking at this, the left rear, I had 27 pounds of left rear bite in the car. It was all the bite I had in the car. That kind of makes sense why I had to run the brakes all the way to the front. Rear brakes on the car even made that worse if I tried to turn in with the brakes on. And I was trying to pick the throttle up, and I just couldn't quite get it to do it. I couldn't get the car to transition to the right rear. All right, left side percentage on the car was 52.3%. I'm going to leave that alone. I had reduced that. I was up close to 54%. I've got that all the way down close to 52%. Car's better. Car gets over on the right side a lot easier now. So that's a good move. Rear percentage, and I got some weight on the back to simulate me being about 5 gallons down on fuel, like so towards the end of a feature. And I'm at 54.6% rear, so still running a ton of rear percentage. Cross is only at 48.9, makes sense with very little left rear in the car. So looking at these numbers, there's nothing wrong with these numbers. That bite number, I don't really pay attention to that. That's on a soft left rear spring. I'm depending on my shop to do a lot of that work and my travel to do some of that work. So, you know, I know I'm running a very, very low left rear bite number, but I will say this, on a real soft spring like that, that number could probably be 0 or 50, and I probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference on the car. So just be aware. You're on these soft springs, left rear bite can fluctuate a lot. But I consulted with BSB. Of course, I'm a member of their team Go Fast. That's an annual subscription. I get discounts on the products and stuff that makes up for it. But then Mr. J also consults, and you know, he's got all my stuff on file, and so like I can call him up and we go through all of my data and stuff. And we consulted on this, and I was telling him about how that I was trying to not have to use the brakes and not pull the nose, and I just couldn't quite get the car to get there and do it. You know, it was like it was transition. It was like it was a second or two there that I couldn't quite get the car to get into that right rear fast enough, and I'd get this little bit of shove. And so we talked about it and stuff, and he was looking, and I'm running a Gorilla Fist 300 on the left front and a Gorilla Fist 600 on the right front. And this works good for the car, and it gets the nose in, and you know, it gets that nose down and gets the car turning. But what we suspect could be going on here is that it's just a little bit too much shock for this left front, and so it's delaying me getting into that right rear, getting the car like, so I go to pick the throttle up, but I'm not actually getting the weight back into that right rear where that the car is steering on the right instead of still being controlled by the left. I'm not getting that action to happen fast enough, and it's creating that second where right when I was going into the corner, I couldn't get the car to turn as quick as I needed it to turn, and so then that made me start compensating. So then I'm using the brake, and I'm doing things to like get the car to just work, because I got to make it through the feature, right? Do the best we can. And I wasn't wanting to do that, so it's like, all right, how can I get out of that mode or whatever? And I had thought, because I have like a regular shock instead of like this Gorilla Fest that's got like a lot more control, and I thought, okay, do I go back to like a 100 rebound instead of this 300? But then Jay sat there and explained to me that it's not just 100 pounds of rebound versus 300 pounds, but the actual speed of the bleeders and everything is drastically different. And so if I had went to that 100 shock and changed that out, it would have been just way too much. So what he suggested is that I just put a few rounds into this. I just need a little more spring action in order to get, to get up off that shock. Nothing drastic. I agree with that. I don't want to mess this up. This car is driving. It's like, man, once I got the nose of the car turning, it was like a rocket ship. And so, it's like, I don't want to mess that up. I want to just get that slight adjustment. And so what we're going to do is, I'm going to raise the whole front of the car. And the reason I want to raise the whole front, because that won't change load, okay, overall. But I'm going to raise it up just a little bit, because I was digging into that right front every once in a while because that outside edge of that track was really rough. All right, well, that's not good, because when I bury out on the frame and I put the right front horn into the ground, that was what happened. If you go back and watch the previous video, you'll see a couple times when I tried to run that outside line and the track was so rough, and it was just like I just would stop on the track. I didn't lose the car or anything, but you could just see all my momentum just get drawn off of my car, and then my first place guy that I was trying to run down, he would just pull away from me. Well, actually, I was burying the right front frame horn into the track is what I was doing. So that's not going to work. So we're going to raise the car up just a little bit. Again, I'm running a 1050 spring on this left front. I'm running a 950 on this right front. So I got a lot of spring, and I'm still burying it in the track. And that's like, to bury it in the track, it's like 3.5 inches of travel for me to do that. So I'm going to raise it up probably just another 1/4 inch is probably all I'm going to raise it. And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to roll about 3 turns into this left front. Probably going to rework the rear and all the jacks to kind of make that work, and have my ride heights where I'm still over on the right front. Put it back on the scales, see where we're at. All right, so I put 3 full rounds in the right front. I'm going to put 3 full rounds in the left front, and I think I'm going to put 2 more is what I'm going to do. So let me get those in. And something else I was thinking about, I've got to reset my left front limiter, because I'm going to raise the front end up. So if I don't reset my left front chain, which it's a limiter, it's not really a chain, I just got like a strut rod that does it. But if I don't reset that, then that inch and, currently I'm running on 1 1/4 inch. Well, that would all of a sudden be like 1 inch instead, and that would significantly tighten the car up off the corner, which might be something we want to do, but we don't want to do it by accident, and it not be what's needed. So I'm going to reset that back to 1 1/4 inch. All right, so there's 1. Yep. Service everything while I'm in here, grease it all up. Oil my, I use 10 weight oil on my eyes on my shocks is what I use. I just clean them up, put a little bit of machine oil on them is all I do. And then I send these in, of course, every season, at the end of the year. Send them in, let Mr. J and them check them. If they're wore out, they'll replace them. Throw this all back together. Let's see where we're at on the scale. Oh, I got a little bit to do on the back too. I got a new spring got to put on the car. Got to do that. I had been running a 250 rate spring on the right rear, and then I switched to a 225, which is very little difference. But the right rear on the car just really woke up, and I started getting all that movement that I expected to be there. And of course, it actually wasn't enough spring when I was on the track the last time running, but at least the car had action in it and had movement in it. And I got to look. Well, the 250 I had on the right rear was like, this is the 3rd season. It had to go. So yes, coil springs do wear out. So anyway, see, this is a new 250 going back in. Of course, it's not really, no spring is exactly what it says it is, and so that's why Jay rates them here. So he's got this one. So like this one right here, it actually ramps up. He calls it a 230, 250, because what it does is as it starts loading up, it shows the rate growing you know, and it's like average rate of 220 and then 225. And then like with each tenth of an inch, it's like 220, 225, 225, 220, and then 230, 235, and there's a 240, and there's a 245. And so as you compress this spring, it ramps up slightly on rate. But you get the real world numbers right here so you actually know what's going on. Because every spring, I don't care what anybody says, every spring is slightly different. But they actually, I think they put this online and put the serial numbers on them. Anyway, I'm gonna put this back in because this is the right spring for this car. So I just wanted to put a fresh one in. Maybe a little bit more lively, a little more action. So I got up out of that, and Brett kind of broke on out there. Wow, lot of drive. Probably could have run Brett down, but the car was wheeling really bad, and it was hooking into that rough part of the track. Something fierce. So I was like, I'm gonna start on the outside pole. That's actually where I want to start anyway. So, like, yeah, I'm actually where I want to be. Now I just gotta have the car ready to go for the teacher. I just pulled 20 off. I don't want to mess it up. But Jay was definitely right about what he said about putting some more load in that left front. Woo! It loaded that right rear big time. Woo! feature, and she's just been getting better and better, but we'll figure it out. She'll get to run it some more. But here I am in my feature. I'm starting second place, and you know, like in the heat race, the car was really tight, and I pulled that lead off the right rear, and I was thinking the car was driving into the right rear too deep. Didn't really understand that night exactly what was going on, because, man, this car is just driving like a completely different animal. I mean, it is so different how it's driving. I feel like I just climbed into somebody else's car, and all I did was just raise that front end up. It's amazing what that did to this car, putting those extra rounds in the left front and then raising the whole thing. Now looking back at it and realizing what was going on, I got that front end up, which raised the center of gravity on the car, and it gave the left rear more leverage. And so what's happening is when I pick that throttle up, like right now, you really can't see it, but like Rachel and them were watching, it's picking the left front up off the ground is what it's doing. And I was running the car, and like the reason I'm not just stomping into the gas is because what was happening is I could only give it so much throttle because it would start pushing the car up the track. It's like I would just scrub. It wouldn't like go into it wouldn't like shove toward the wall. It would just like scrub, like I was scrubbing the right front. I didn't have enough traction on the front of the car. And, you know, looking back at it, I had corrected my chain on the left front, but I need to let that chain out some more, because if I could have kept that left front on the ground a little better, I would have had a little bit more control on the front end. I probably could have picked up the throttle a little bit better. Also, as this race progresses, at first, I'm not doing a good job of driving the car with the conditions, like how it's acting. I'm letting off the throttle a little too much, and I'm a little too much brake at first. I'm being too conservative. And this car, as I get towards the end of the race, I realize like come from full throttle back to only about half throttle, and then just use the brakes with them rolled all the way to the front of the car to just pull the nose down a little bit and turn in. And I'm realizing now, like watching the footage and stuff and seeing how the car got better toward the end of the race as I started getting a little more aggressive with it, this car needed more throttle, you know, like on that entry, more throttle and less brake. And like if I just kept transitioning more and more in that direction, the car would have got better and better. But it is tight, and like I'm scrubbing some speed in that turn, and that's why I can't reel Brent in. Now I actually do kind of close up the gap a little bit on the end, and it's because that the track, there was a little bit of traction down in the bottom, and even though it was rough on one end, I could just get a better bite. And so that little bit extra traction was helping my front end to turn, and so like right in there, right there, I'm getting down a little bit better traction down there. And so I got toward the end of the race where that I could just stay in that throttle deeper into the turn, in which I could then exit faster as well. Overall, I definitely like this better, but I think I may have raised the front end up just a little bit too much, because it's wanting to like lift the car instead of push the car forward. And actually, I feel like that, okay, yes, it's more drivable now, but I was actually faster, especially from the center off. I was faster the weekend before. You know, so like I got to find the compromise somewhere in the middle. Part of it may be, okay, I need to let that chain out on that left front. Let's see if we can keep that left front on the ground a little bit longer. That would probably help. I need to be more aggressive. Like this car is working now, and as part of that, I need to be more aggressive on the throttle. Like earlier into the entry, get more aggressive on the throttle. And then the other thing is like I need new tires. Like I've just kept the tires from last year on this car. There's nothing left of them, y'all. They're hard as a rock. And so this track slicked off. Even as tight as this car was tonight, if I'd had new tires on, Brent would have been in trouble. He would have. Even with that fresh legal 602 that he's got out there, I know what I'm running, y'all. And I got a ton of open motor, and that 602 right there, woo, has he got some power on? When that green flag drops, I couldn't touch him, and I was like, and that's a 602. But anyway, good for him. I ended up finishing second. Overall, I am happy with the changes. A little more work to do, but yeah,